Live from the Washington, D.C. area, it's the Inside Scoop, Emerald Planet. All the ecology news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's your host, Executive Director of the Emerald Planet, Dr. Sam Lee Hancock.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet as we come to you from Washington, D.C. in the United States as we look around the globe in 144 different nations looking for those 1,000 best practices, the technologies, services, and technologies that are making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And we're going to be doing something a little bit different on Emerald Planet with this particular program, is that we're going to be talking about the Zika virus and some practical steps to take care of it, but also the challenge not only to the United States, but really to the world. Zika, as you may have been hearing, is one of those tropical diseases that was discovered following World War II. And it really was so insignificant that it really didn't even make the list of neglected tropical diseases because few local people would get bit, they get ill, have cold-like symptoms, and get over it. And then all of a sudden it spread into the South Pacific in the 2000s, then into Brazil and across Latin America now. And it's morphed into something that really is almost to the level of Ebola. It now has been registered by the WHO as a very significant disease and needs to be addressed. So we're going to be talking about this, and we have a number of slides that we'll be going through. And with me is one of the experts that's been working on this now for about a dozen years as far as the material we're going to be talking about. This is David Pearce. He's been on Emerald Planet before. Senior Development Outreach Advisor for the Skintex MR III, which we'll talk about what that is. And that's through Pulcra Chemicals, which is headquartered in Rock Hill, South Carolina. And David, thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Sam. Glad to be here.
Well, this is something, and I love this little title you put on this, Bite Zika Back. But tell us about what's Zika. Give us a little more information, and we have a slide here to kind of emphasize that.
Yeah, I mean, Zika is a virus, came out of Uganda, and it's just really beginning to wreak havoc across South America, Brazil in particular. You can get sick. It's being linked to microencephaly, childbirth effects. It's real serious in that the Zika mosquito loves people, and the Zika mosquito bites during the day.
And also, too, as I understand it, David, that the Zika, the mosquito that has the Zika, which is also the number of other diseases like chikungunya, dengue, yellow fever, even West Nile disease, which we've had in the United States now for some years, loves people.
Just loves people.
And it's like many animals now, it's just adapted itself to urban environment.
It is, and you know, you've traveled all over the world. You've been in 89 countries, right. And you know, you've been part of Rotary, and you've had me go to Rotary meetings, and we've talked about this. You know, you and I have been talking about this for 2 years.
Right.
So, you know,
which even predated the Zika, which
even
it's
ahead of
amazing.
Zika. Yeah, exactly. But you know, what Zika's given us is this platform to talk about all these infectious diseases, and what are we going to do about these mosquitoes?
Yeah, because this is something, David, that's really bothered me, and I know it's been bothering you because, again, you've been at this really for a decade as this has been evolving and getting ready to bring out to the public, and also with the militaries and the World Health Organization and others, is that we talk about malaria. Every 30 seconds, a child dies of malaria. 3,000 people die a day of malaria. And it's just like, ho-hum, we keep going, and now Zika, you have 4,000, infected mothers in Brazil. You're going to have 4 million supposedly across the nation. And now it's just a buzz everywhere. It's almost, again, it's like the Ebola. As long as it stays in its own little isolated spot, okay, we're not concerned. Right. You get 1 or 2, in the United States, which we've had, and all of a sudden we've got a real problem.
Yeah, and that's exactly what's taken place with the WHO making the announcement, with the CDC
Yeah, the Centers for Disease Control.
Centers for Disease Control making announcements almost on a daily basis about, being able to do something about it. And you're right, it's a long process to have created the MR3, which stands for Mosquito Repellent Roman numeral 3, because we made Mosquito Repellent 1, which wasn't effective, and then Mosquito Repellent 2, which was, and then finally 3, which was shown to be highly effective. And then the microencapsulation of this technology is what's putting us into the 21st century of one of the few vector tools we actually have that we can use that a human can put onto their body. It is the next generation, and the effectiveness of it is what we've been talking about for 2 years.
Yeah, and the whole thing about it too, this is something that came out of a type of the encapsulation and also the material itself, which is a non-woven, which really sounds counterintuitive. You have a non-woven material, but again, that's for some of the requirements of the World Health Organization and also the United States Environmental Protection Agency. But it really exceeds all of those requirements that people knew that we needed, and yet they really didn't have this virus to trigger the fact that we really need to get busy about getting it out there.
Yeah, it's been focused on the insecticidal treated net and the insecticidal residual spraying. And what other tools that are there have been, we don't want to call overlooked, just not getting attention. The focus moved to a vaccine. How do we do something?
Which is hundreds of millions of dollars in a decade or decades.
Yeah, just in the 2 years that you and I have been trying to work MR3 in front of everybody we can get in front of to talk about it, there's probably $100+ million that's been spent in laboratories. We have an effective tool. It should be consistent with the net and the spraying, and any and all other vector tools. People don't understand, what the deadliest animal on the planet is, and that's a mosquito.
A mosquito. And we have this map here that really highlights this, David, here where you have, this various gradations of color as far as the intensity, but you see the reds and the orange, and these are huge population bases where this particular mosquito is located. And then also you see it's in Mexico, and then we'll be showing in a map shortly that shows it spreading across all of the southern United States. So this is becoming very real, but at the same time it's really very dangerous.
3.2 billion people are represented by that map, and we now have the CDC. They've updated they keep updating maps, and we're all at risk, and that's not to be calling out some alarm or to try and create anything other than awareness. If we can make people aware of the tools that are there and get them to start using them in a proper, acceptable fashion, we can start to kill mosquitoes. And that's all, everybody that is working on this side of the industry, that's what we're here to do. We're trying to kill mosquitoes.
Yeah, and also too, it's about Puerto Rico, where they're looking to transfer hundreds of thousands of birth control devices and pills down there so that the women can avoid getting pregnant, during this time of the Zika outbreak, because they're saying that's really is covering the island there. And then also too, as far as the U.S. Olympic teams and all the Olympic teams going into Brazil are telling the women now, do you really want to go there and play in an environment where in most cases you probably are going to get bit? Because you're there, you're sweating, you're exercising, you're in the open air.
You're doing everything a mosquito loves.
Yes.
So they're going to come find you. And not Zika, like we're saying, dengue, chikungunya. This is Thomas Friedman of the CDC just called the Aedes aegypti the cockroach of mosquitoes. So
yeah, it's everywhere. It's tough to get rid of. And also, too, I think they had the first microcephaly child. What was in Hawaii? I think they had the first one. And there's evidently several already on the continental United States that has that as well. But looking at this map here of the United States, David, and going down towards the main area of Latin America, tell us really the significance of this going from all of Florida across to Galveston, Houston, all these places in Texas, because they're saying the outbreaks will be in these areas. It's just, when is it going to happen?
This is the prime spot for the Zika mosquito to begin appearing. And this map actually just got updated yesterday, where now they're showing the growth up through San Francisco and up through New York.
Yeah, talking about California, right?
Where we're just covering, we're covering 1/2 of the United States. And this is from a map from a week ago to a map of yesterday, right, where the dynamics of what we're talking about. And when you're saying, you know, Florida and Texas and South Georgia and Louisiana and Alabama and
Mississippi.
I mean, this is, you've got to get the tools in place so that we can do the job of combating Zika.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole thing about this Skintex MR III. It actually kills mosquitoes on contact, and that's the thing that's different than many of the other areas. But the Caribbean, you know, Dr. Nuri, which is the ambassador to the Bahamas, is very concerned about this because he was the chairman of the Caribbean Basin, all the 20 nations there. And he was almost prophetic because he could see something like this coming going across all of the Caribbean, but he wasn't just sure where it was going to come from. Of course, now it's already in Haiti and in essence in all those countries. But being a very proactive and dynamic society and country, they've decided they're going to do something about it. So tell us a little bit about this interaction there with the Ministry of Health. And we're running out of time, so we only have about 50 seconds left to do that.
Okay, well, yeah, real quickly, he's very proactive, wanted us to jump in, get the product down there. We went down there, and we've gone through the Ministry of Health and Tourism and NEMA, their version of our FEMA, and we put ourselves in a trial. Everything is by trial and error, but we're in trial right now, and we're going to be back to him shortly. Yeah,
I think it's absolutely fantastic. But anyway, kudos to Ambassador Eugene Nuri, who is the ambassador of the Commonwealth of Bahamas to the United States, and being very proactive, very attuned to the people of the Bahamas, at the same time working with all the agencies there. So we're going to leave you with this as far as this map of the Caribbean, what's happening there and where you're going, as we look at this Zika virus traveling around the globe as we create the Emerald Planet.
Some dreams are universal, dreams that inspire us. Multiple sclerosis is a devastating disease that changes lives forever. The National MS Society does more for people with MS than any organization in the world. But we can't do it alone. To get involved, visit us online at nationalmssociety.org. or call 1-800-FIGHT-MS. This is why we're here. Because nobody dreams of having multiple sclerosis.
What's wrong with this picture? Half of young Americans can't locate economic powers like Japan and India. 20% can't even find the Pacific Ocean. Without geography, our children aren't ready for the world. Geography is everywhere. It's incredible creatures, rhythm, fashion, flavor. It's economics and politics. It's change. Understanding connections between people and places is critical in the 21st century. That's why we created mywonderfulworld.org. Go there now for your free parent and teacher action kits and give our kids the power of global knowledge. Because kids who understand our world today can succeed in it tomorrow.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello, I'm Dr. Sam Hancock of Emerald Planet TV, come to you from Washington, D.C. as we look around the globe, looking for those 1,000 best practices, technologies, services, products, and of course the people are making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And I have a gentleman sitting right beside me, David Pearce, and he is the Senior Advisor for Development and Outreach for the Skintex MR III, which is produced and headquartered in Rock Hill, South Carolina with the Pulcra Corporation, Pulcra Chemicals. And this is all about the Zika virus. This is something that's raging in the headlines because the mosquito, as you see in this image right behind me, the mosquitoes are raging across all areas in the tropics, southern part of the United States, all of Latin America, and now going back into Africa from whence it first came. And so David's here to talk with us about this and also share some of these images, but also some very practical steps that can be taken as far as addressing the Zika virus, but then looping that back into something that's even a greater killer, which is malaria, and then the other what's called neglected tropical diseases like dengue, yellow fever, and many others that we have, David. But looking at this image, we see these mosquitoes. What kind of mosquitoes are these, and why the particular test with the Skintex MR III with this type of mosquito?
Yeah, this is Aedes aegypti mosquito, and you run through a series of tests that are established by the World Health Organization and or our U.S. military and or our allies.
And also the EPA too, correct?
And the Environmental Protection Agency, right, because the chemistry we're talking about here, this is the only microencapsulated EPA-registered technology based on permethrin. And permethrin is the only vector tool we have to fight these insects.
Yeah, and also too, and this is something that you've mentioned to me many times before, is that the greatest killer as far as any animal is a mosquito. And that's amazing how small these things are. They're very irritating, but also, as we've talked about before as well, every 30 seconds a child dies from malaria, and of course now Zika is raising havoc in Brazil and many other countries across Latin America and coming to the Caribbean already. So looking at this, you said at risk there's about how many people in the world's population of 7+ billion that could be affected by this?
Right now it's an immediate 3.2 to 3.5, and now with the growth of Zika.
That's billions, right?
Billion.
Yes.
Yeah, now we're starting to talk 4 to 5 billion, you know, almost essentially the Earth is becoming challenged by these mosquitoes.
Yeah, because now it's morphed into the United States and some other places too. So let's get this next slide up here. Looking at the, oops, jumped ahead one. Looking at this mosquitoes, we have all these dead mosquitoes in here. Why are they there, David? What's the storyline on this?
We'd love to say that that's completely because MR3 is so effective, but anyway, that's just this is a lab representative of the type of mosquito we're trying to combat. When you look at MR3, this is meant to be a frontline tool where we can take the chemistry and we can apply it to any item. We have the EPA registration to do that as well. This is all under the guidance and registration of the EPA. The blanket product that we've produced, you can share with us. You have learned a lot about it and have taught us a lot of what to do with it. But again, these are tools to be used in the effort to try and not get bit, to repel the mosquito, to knock down the mosquito, to knock dead the mosquito. That's the terminology. Everybody says, well, can you kill them? We're here to repel them, to knock them down, to knock them dead. That's what the laboratory testing and the EPA makes us say.
Yeah, this whole thing about the dead mosquito, this is really, it's unique to what it is you're doing. But you did this encapsulation. Now, why encapsulate permethrin? Because permethrin's been around since World War II. It's been used as what's called free permethrin, so they dunk it in a bath or they spray it or on the material. But this is entirely different. This is a revolutionary type product.
10 plus years ago, individuals inside of Pulcra said that we have to create whatever is a 21st century permethrin tool. So one, let's create whatever we can in a synthetic version of permethrin to make it more human friendly, and then take the Skintex technology and encapsulate it. And that encapsulation gives us durability, high performance. We have now successfully accomplished that for the life of the material that we put MR3 on, that this will be there.
Now, this is really interesting because the United States, I know they had a 25 minimum wash test. So after 25, it still needed to be there. It still needed to be 100%, kill rate. But the Germans have a very different perspective on that. What's the difference between what the U.S. required as far as military uniforms and materials with this encapsulated permethrin and what the German military has required and the test that you went through?
Yeah, when we were first doing this, the EPA wrote the protocol at 25 laundries. And then as we've moved on, that protocol is now under, again, revisement. And we're confident that we will work with the EPA and we'll be in lockstep with the new protocol and or will exceed it. The German military is why we can say that. That's probably the most severe testing format of study that goes on in the world today. And their demand is for 100 laundries. They want durability and effectiveness, meaning knock down, knock dead, at 100 laundries. So we just concluded that testing, and we feel we're the first company in the world with this type of technology.
And actually exceeded that requirement as far as the 100. And also, too, I think they were using a little harsher chemicals in the wash than what's been used within the United States, so it gives you an idea. But going to the blanket, why the blanket? Because when I went off to Tanzania, I had 7 of the shirts, which are very comfortable, and I must say in 15 days no bugs were around me anywhere, even at night, because I'd hang them up in my room and it would, about 20 minutes later, all the bugs were gone. But why the blanket?
Thank you for the unsolicited testimonial. The blanket is a common sense factor of everyone knows what it is. You can go anywhere in the world and in whatever language translate blanket, and everybody knows what that is. What we did with the technology of the material itself is, that's also copyrighted and trademarked and patented, is it's hydroentanglement. So you don't have a clear pattern as you do with the materials we're wearing. It's not straight up and down, left and right, north and south. It's hydroentangled. So when the insect is landing on it, if it's not being repelled already by MR3, then when it lands on it, we have what we call a hot foot character. The microencapsulates burst and gives the insect this hot foot character, but because they want to feed on blood, they'll still try and bite through. And this microencapsulates keep breaking, and the insect is trying to find its way through. So that's the secret sauce of what we've created here, from not just literally the chemical, but then the material we put it on.
Yeah, and it's just amazing too, and I know that the households where we provided these in Tanzania, and it's also been done in Kenya and other places, is the people will just at random put it in the kitchen or put it over the front door, what have you, and without exception, they just say it's, the insects just leave. They don't want to be there. So there's something called halo. What's halo?
A term that EPA would prefer we don't speak about. Repel is the terminology today, but what you're looking at is, these are insects that have had thousands of years of feeding on some type of blood source. And they're very good at going after that blood source.
And that's whether it's animals or humans.
Yeah, unless they recognize there's something wrong. So this repellent character that we're talking about, some want to call it halo. You know, we are restricted in what we can say and do here, but we know that the insect, if it's got another alternate feed source, it'll recognize there's MR3, I'm not going to go there.
Yeah, yeah. And it was really interesting, was in this event in the western part of Tanzania, and I was sitting around, there was about 500-600 people there in the whole parade ground. Just within the tent, it was probably another 75 to 100 people. And I had my shirt on. And then I took the hat, which you kindly provided to me, and I just put it in front of me on the table, and nobody around me for that whole, we were there for about 3.5 hours through lunch and everything. We never had a single bug in that whole time. I had my shirt, the hat sitting in front of me, and we just let it be there at rest. But looking at this is something about this encapsulation. Tell us about what we're actually seeing here under the microscope.
I'll jump back 1 second, and we can't represent that. You have to use sprays. If you've got exposed skin, you need to treat exposed skin. This is not a one tool does all. Mm-hmm. This is a family of vector tools that we're saying our product is going to slide into, along with all the other vector tools.
Got that, but I still can say there were no bugs around me with my shirt and my hat. So
I appreciate it. We have a lot of that information.
You got it. Yes. Okay, go ahead. What we're looking at
Microencapsulation.
Under the microscope.
Yeah, so what you're looking at there is, you know, a microscopic view of a strand, a magnified strand of the hydroentanglement, where you've got you know, across the field of the good, you have millions upon millions of these microencapsulations. So there's what the mosquito is first sensing is going on with this material. That repellent character is being emitted, and then when it lands on it, it starts breaking those microencapsulants.
Mm-hmm. So there's like it just washes over the mosquito or the fly or the tick or whatever it may be, because this is great for Lyme's disease, which we haven't really talked about that, but this is something that I know that the American Lyme Disease Association.
What you can see here also is there's this term called interstices, but the nature of the way it is almost like the microencapsulants hide inside the hydroentanglement. Mm-hmm. And that's what some of the scientists we've worked with, or the medical professionals, that go, that's really fun.
Yeah. Okay, well, we're going to end with that. This is something David Pearce, the Skintex MR III and Pulcra Chemicals. Thank you for being here to share all this information with us about the Zika virus, how to attack the mosquito that's bringing that about. And thank you for being with us as we look around the globe to create the Emerald Planet.
This is firstgov.gov, where we're obsessed with getting you government information.
Brand new student loan applications on the site, baby. This calls for a celebration. Where's your uncle?
So in the end, it was either take the astronaut gig or come work here. What can I say? Duty called.
Dude, that's my cop.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure that's Sam's cop.
Oh, sorry?
Yeah. No. Sam's. No.
Just log on or email us and get what you need.
C, change of address form. That's how it's done.
D, driver's license renewal.
E, emailing Social Security information.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Nice, we'll allow it. All right, Ed.
What are those?
Government surplus cars for auction.
You posted those online last time.
No, you did.
I'm posting them online this time.
For all your government information, firstgov.gov.
Oh, what have we got here? Sometimes you feel tired. You can't seem to lose those extra pounds off your midsection. And your joints hurt when you take the stairs. Well, you're getting older. But I'm happy to say that there's some simple things we can do to keep you happy and healthy for years to come. We can also lower your risk for some serious diseases the older population is often subject to. Proper nutrition is more important than ever. Your body has changed, you know. Not as many treats. A basic exercise plan, lots of walks and fresh air, and most importantly, come and see me for twice-yearly checkups to help ensure the best possible quality of life. Now, how does that sound? Good boy.
Improve the quality of life for your elderly pet. Schedule twice-yearly checkups that include preventive care and regular lab work. A message from the veterinary members of the American Animal Hospital Association.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello, and welcome to the Emerald Planet as we come to you from Washington, D.C. and the United States as we look across the globe in 144 different nations. We're looking for what we call the best of the best practices that can be used. Things are inexpensive, readily available, and yet can have profound changes in the lives of people. We're talking specifically about the Zika virus, something that people as little as 15 months, 2 years ago, had never even heard of, wasn't even really in the priority as far as the neglected tropical diseases. That's how far insignificant it was as far as a disease within the tropics. And now all of a sudden it's raging across a country like Brazil, looking at 4 million people to be infected. Maybe 4,000 mothers have it that are pregnant and could have dire impacts on their infants that will be born from this particular virus, and they're spreading across Puerto Rico, the Caribbean, and now throughout many of the areas. And I guess David Pearce of Skintex MR III, as the senior advisor there, Pulcra Chemicals, is it's spreading very rapidly in the United States as we speak, and was in all 20 countries of the Caribbean within about 6 to 8 months.
Right.
How can something like that spread that quickly?
The inability to stop the spread, this term we're trying to work on called bite Zika back. You had such limited resources to recognize that Zika had appeared, and then such limited resources applied to trying to stop it until it just overwhelmed everyone.
And the Zika comes from what? How does it pass, to humans?
Yeah, it's a mosquito bite.
Right.
Yeah, we've got a blood-sucking insect that's going to come and take a bite out of you, and what it will do is feed during the day, and it will feed multiple times to get its blood meal. So that's how dangerous this particular mosquito is.
Right. And also it bites one human, then all of a sudden another mosquito can come and bite that second person, and then that can spread it as well. And of course, I understand now that they found out, which is probably the first time for these types of diseases, can be spread through sexual contact and also tainted blood. Now that's really a dire situation, because you haven't had something like that probably since HIV/AIDS first appeared on the scene back in the 80s and 90s.
And again, an infectious disease that shows up with limited knowledge of it and limited resources to combat it.
Yeah, and no known cure at this time or any way to eliminate, and that's what we're talking about here, is how do you get at this particular animal that's actually causing havoc in many of these countries in Latin America, but increasingly so coming to a place near home in the United States. But looking at this Skintex MR III, I know this is something that's registered, trademarked, and all that, but it's a very unique material. So it's a leading edge, or what I call beyond the horizon technology. We have an image of this as far as how this looks under the microscope. Tell us a little bit about what we're seeing here, and why is this so important? And it's unique because it's just your corporation that actually has this and produces it.
Yeah, we're the only people in the world with what we're calling a 21st century technology, MR3. It's the only microencapsulated EPA number registered technology based on permethrin. So what you're seeing here is a mosquito attempting to bite through the material, and you see all the MR3 is highlighted, and the challenge is to prevent the bite. how do you bite it back? So that's what permethrin is. It's the only
that's a bite-through characteristic of the fabric, correct?
Yeah, it's what the military tests for intently. It's a directional model for the EPA is bite-through. What are we going to do about bite-through? And that's what MR3 is about. We're trying to combat Zika and all the other infectious diseases, mosquitoes and other insects spread by this tool.
Just ticks, flies, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and looking at this material, so as it tries to bite through its little, I call it a straw, its little snout trying to get through there, then it's running into a multitude of things.
Yeah, every time it hits a microencapsulate, it breaks, so it's just being dosed with the permethrin, and the terminology is knocked down, so it really depends on how hungry the mosquito is or how hard it keeps trying to feed. Because what we see is it'll just leave the material. It'll knock it down off the material, and or if it just continues to try to feed, it'll knock it dead.
It's going to kill it.
It's going to kill it.
And of course, once that permethrin washes over, it's going to die anyway. It's just a matter of time. And I think it really depends on how much blood it already has in its system the last time it fed, and some of these other quotations. But looking at this is the Pulcra Chemicals, and as I say to your CEO, one of the largest corporations in the world that nobody ever heard of and knows about. So tell us a little bit about the history of Pulcra Chemicals.
Yeah, Pulcra's a 100-plus-year-old specialty chemical company. So all about leading edge and what's next and over the horizon in 21st century. Brian Francois is our newly named global CEO of Pulcra. There are 14 plants around the world that comprise Pulcra Chemical. Troy Massey, who is a person who lab-proofed MR3, and then Dr. Raymond Mathis, who actually thought of, could we actually create something that, it could touch a human and or, inhalation or toxicological be safe for a human. So it's been a long process. We are some 15 years later to be sitting here talking to you about it.
Yeah, and I understand it's about $25 million involved, so this is not an inexpensive adventure as far as Pulcra Chemicals, but my understanding from the original chairman who was there at the time, this is really the give back as far as where you're going. And the question keeps coming up is that the Olympics are coming up. They're going to be held in an area that's is in abundance as far as the Zika virus is concerned, and of course all your various tropical diseases. And can you make the uniforms out of this material that has this microencapsulated permethrin in that? So
you go back
about that in the affirmative.
You go back to the Environmental Protection Agency, and they make you register and get a number for all the items you want to put this chemistry on. So we have already gone down that path, and we have virtually every item of apparel, gear, shoes,
backpacks, and sun umbrellas, and all these other kinds of things.
Tents and dog beds, and we've registered everything that where you think there's a textile application and a human or an animal could come in contact with it to try and give them this repellent knock down, knock dead character.
Right. Well, one of the things too is in these studies, and I know this is through your chairman because he's an avid horse person, also has dogs, made sure that this would be able to take care of horses, dogs, and other large animals. And so I guess the cats are about the only ones for some particular reason that they can't use it for them. But as far as dogs and horses and other kinds of, goat, sheep, what have you, can be used for that. And because again, this is for any blood-sucking insect. So it's ticks, which goes, to animals, midrid types of flies, the sand fly, the black flies, just like the Ambassador Neri is concerned about as far as the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. So it's amazing the breadth and the depth as far as what this will protect and be able to kill, because again, it's a knock dead, knock down category. Looking at this laboratory test, why is this important? Both WHO, World Health Organization, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency.
Yeah, the EPA and our military and our allies. This is the most severe test for mosquitoes, where you've got a lab technician, and at the bottom of the chamber is a little sliding door. So you lay the material, on your arm, treated and untreated, put your arm up there, pull this, door open, and you've got 4-day-old non-fed female mosquitoes, disease-free, but prepared to eat. Mm-hmm. And what you do is you run that testing for a period of time to see what is your repel, knock down, knock dead numbers. And of course, we're pleased to say that we exceed the WHO standard, and actually this test represents 46 landings and 0 bites.
Yeah, and looking at this too, this is a very extensive test. This is something that's, if I understand correctly, is run in Germany.
Correct.
Which has really the most rigorous testing of that, even more than the United States EPA. And this particular product came out, exceeding all the requirements, both as far as the European Union is concerned and within the United States. So what do you do with these results? How are they distributed so people know that these are real results from real tests? And how does this get out to people so they understand that?
It's up on the Pulcra website, Pulcra Chemicals, and/or Skintex MR III.com, and you can read all this information. And we have, you and I can talk about all the presentations we've made here in Washington across virtually every gov or non-gov.
But this would be on the various websites of the testing agencies and all that, so it's multi-vectoral as far as where they'll be able to find this information.
And we'll furnish the information to whomever as appropriate.
Right. And this is really what you were talking about, David. Just go over this. We only have about a minute left, so just tell us what
this on the left is representative of the testing document. This is just one page of multiple pages of this chamber test. And then on the right is an example of just one page out of the German military, where we're extrapolating out to the 100 washes that they demand, where we're showing 70% plus of the chemistry is still there, which is more than effective to kill, to knock dead, knock down.
It's still 100%.
It's still virtually 100%.
Yeah, to all those
the life of the material.
Right.
What this is a representative of is the life of the material.
Yeah. And this whole thing too, as far as this wash durability, this is what you're talking about here. And in the presentations we made, as long as this piece of fabric exists, it's going to be able to take care of all that. Looking at this, and we'll be going on to others shortly, but how does this attest to the quality and the significance of this particular, the fabric and the chemical itself? And we've got about 20 seconds to do that.
Yeah, it's what puts you in a position by yourself. There's not another chemistry company in the world that can represent this.
Yeah, it's just absolutely incredible. And this is something with the spread of Zika, the devastation it brings to small children, babies to their mothers, is incredible. Thank you for being with us as we look around the globe to create the Emerald Planet.
I helped turn my child's public school into a whole new kind of school. One with a curriculum that really motivates kids. One that has extended hours, 6 days a week, year-round. With loads of academic, cultural, and recreational activities. One that has support services like medical and dental right there. A school where parents' involvement is encouraged. Where teachers have more time to teach. And students are excited about learning. There's just one problem. My child doesn't ever want to come home. You can help turn your school into a community school for excellence. Find out how. Call 1-877-LOVE-TO-LEARN.
It's coming. Right to your neighborhood. And when it does, you may be surprised. It's your Social Security statement of your benefits, and it's going to help you plan your financial future. Your benefit statement will tell you how much Social Security you're eligible to receive and when you'll get it. Then you'll know how much you need to save for retirement, because that's coming too. The future is in your hands. Choose to save.
The toxic fumes from this meth lab are seeping into Jamie's sinus cavity. Ammonia vapors invade her throat. Toxic gases fill her lungs. Jamie's body is deteriorating. And she doesn't even know it.
Jamie, dinner.
So, who has the drug problem now? Find out how meth affects you at drugfree.org/.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Thank you for being with us as we come to you on a week-to-week basis from Washington, D.C. in the United States. I'm Dr. Sam Hancock, the President, Executive Director of Emerald Planet TV. We're coming to you to bring you what we consider the best of the best practices that we've been able to identify across 144 different nations. We now have almost 1,800 different technologies that we've been able to identify that would be in those categories, and from 98 different countries already, and we keep expanding on a week-to-week basis to 4 more of those. And I have sitting with me is David Pearce, a Senior Development Outreach Advisor for Skintex MR III Technologies of Pulcra Chemicals, which is a U.S. Headquartered organization, and also research and development and manufacturing, and now more and more being taken into the retail side of all this. And David Pearce is laughing because that's not exactly how he thought this would be about 10 years ago. Nope. When he first got involved with this organization. But we have the WHO organization up here. David, tell us a little bit about the Zika virus, how the Skintex MR III fits into all of that, and why is the WHO, World Health Organization, so important to this discussion and the progression of saying how we can address the Zika virus, and then, of course, all the other tropical diseases like malaria, which are real killers as well.
The World Health Organization exists because many countries don't have something like the Environmental Protection Agency.
Of the United States.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Or the Center for Disease Control, or in any other established entity like we have here. So the World Health Organization writes these protocols for here's how particular medicines or new practices or a product like Skintex MR III has to be tested before it could even be applied in some part of the world where the EPA isn't. So that's what this is about.
And you have to go through this in order to get here.
That's right.
And this is in Tanzania.
I know that guy.
Yes, absolutely. And we're talking there. I guess there was over 300 people there that day, and we're talking about the whole thing as far as the mosquitoes. And this was even before Zika really was on the horizon as far as a topic, right, and all that. And of course, within Tanzania, they have not only just the mosquitoes, but also the ticks and flies and even the mites and bed bugs and things like that. But this is where it needs to be. This is where the rubber really meets the road, David. So going to all this testing as far as the World Health Organization, the US EPA, why is it important for the people here at the sound of my voice?
It's important. What you're seeing on the screen is this is the last proof of concept where you're out in the field. Some people want to more readily accept field practice and results, and as you've experienced yourself, this is the same thing we've done with the military and or other medical institutions where we've spent a year or a year plus, sometimes in blind studies. We don't have any access to the information, and they're recording what's going on with Skintex MR III.
Yeah. And this is something that, too, as far as the people there are concerned, is something with authority you need to be able to state and not just guess or pretend that we know what's going on as far as this encapsulated permethrin. And tell us a little bit about permethrin. Why is it important to this lady that has her own small business. She makes all different types of clothing and household goods and things like that. And of course, through the U.S. EPA, virtually all of these things already have a registration number and already approved. But why does she need to know that this exists?
Permethrin is the only vector tool that we have at our disposal. That's all that the World Health Organization, the EPA, the U.S. military, that's all that is recognized as the tools that we have. And we've tried to leap permethrin from its foundings after World War II into this 21st century version of something that's highly effective. What you taught us was not just to make product in various sizes, but then to identify a person like this working in a community where she actually makes everything. So that what we should be doing is supplying her a roll of fabric, a 50-yard or 50-meter, or whatever size she could handle, to get into her hands so she could make with it whatever she wants or her community wants.
Yeah, and looking at these various patterns too, I understand, David, that you can imprint this particular material virtually with just about any color and any kind of design that would be useful within a country, either by geographical location, by tribal areas, national borders, anything like that. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Whatever color is required or wanted, whatever design, if you wanted the Tanzanian flag or the Tanzanian crest printed on them, whatever it is you want. We say we're only limited by our creativity.
Mm-hmm. Why is it important to go to the United Nations and talk with them as far as the areas where they're taking care of the refugees and making sure that we protect the refugees? What's important about the Skintex MR III that's different than bed nets and other kinds of vectors out there?
We have the highest number of displaced population since World War II. So you have a incredible number of people where a net isn't practical. There's nothing to hang it on, or there's no way to insecticide spray what. And the blanket's the perfect tool. They carry virtually all their possessions on their back in some kind of rag. It should be this material, it should be this blanket.
Yeah, and the whole thing about this too, that it absolutely sheds water too. That's an incredible feature of this. When you talk about a blanket, you think of something that it gets wet, it's going to absorb. This actually repels water.
That is correct. And wind and debris. It's light, it's super light. You've got a blanket that weighs 12, 13 ounces, so there's sustainability in shipping those practices. It's endless what we've done in 15 years to be sitting here with this vector tool, and the job today is to make those people that need to know about it. Yeah. Zika's given us a platform to do that.
And so this would be a good audience, this High Commissioner, as far as the status of refugees, whether it's in Tanzania, this is about from the Central African Republic, and also Burundi and places around that, but also in the Middle East, where you have some 6 million Syrians and others that are displaced by civil war. So this is really an area.
We have the greatest number in this country that we've ever seen before. Right. There's the greater number of homeless and displaced right here in our own country.
Yeah, and could absolutely use this as this spreads. Looking at the research as far as a number of different countries, but specifically focused on Tanzania, why do you have these various sizes? What's the importance of that?
And again, we can thank you, because we went over there and our model was to make a 60 by 80 inch blanket, because that's the generic blanket size. But when you go
within the United States.
Within the United States.
Right.
When you go into certain countries, you start learning that that's not practical for an infant or for a primary schooler or a secondary schooler, or somebody just wants to wear it around their neck. Mm-hmm. It's like a fashion statement scenario. And so we've moved from just a blanket to now these 5 different alternatives of which the material can be delivered from us in that shape.
Yeah, looking at this is this very mint green, it's very clean, very fresh. But again, going back to the question earlier, this can come in bright orange, it can come in yellows, it can come in anything, or it can be in the print of wherever they want.
Right. Can come right out of the plant. We're just running some trials right now where color or pattern isn't important, so it'll just be a natural material. It will have no color or no pattern.
It just comes out as white.
Right.
And then it can be imprinted in any way they want. And this is something I think is really important, David, as far as people being able to understand they can get it the sizes that best suits them. And that's one of the things that we found, that the American size blanket was just way too big for the adults. Over there, and there was just a lot of
Yeah, you were sending us
fabric.
pictures where there were 3 or 4 of you standing there holding a blanket.
Yes, and we could actually, you're absolutely right, it was 3, and we could put at least 2 more in there.
Maybe too big.
Now, going back to the difference between this and the mosquito blanket.
Yeah, the insecticidal
net.
Insecticidal treated net. Again, this is a vector tool that we, as a community, to combat these mosquitoes and these blood-sucking insects, we have to come together in a community. We're the new kid on the block with a new technology and a new textile, but these are all tools that have to be used in the environment we're talking about to combat these insects.
Yeah. And then one of the things, too, about these mosquito nets is that even though they do have holes in them, they still gets very clammy within the heat and humidity. And this is really, the research has been done. This is where most of them end up, either seining for fish or in cattle sheds and chicken coops and all that.
Yeah, an alternate purpose for the intent. But that's going to happen with any product. And all we can do is educate, educate, and educate.
Yeah, and the whole thing is, though, one thing about it, when somebody has a blanket, you can see this slung over her shoulder. She's definitely not going to take that blanket off of that child and then throw it in the water, because so you can see it's really instructive as far as what this actually shows you here. Going back to this, and we've run out of time, but I really wanted to bring this back up and kind of end with this. Why a blanket? We can do shirts, you can do pants, you can do umbrellas. But back to the blanket.
Everybody has a blanket. When we were kids, we had a blanket. We got a blanket in the trunk of our car. Everybody's got a blanket.
Yeah.
For me, looping back to the beginning of your question, I'm in this specifically. This is a passion project for me. I'm here to save a child or save a soldier. That's why I'm doing this. This is a technology by which we have a shot at doing that. Mm-hmm. This is a legitimate opportunity to do that.
Yeah, these are delivered and it starts killing mosquitoes and eliminate this. And actually, I've been with people that actually really go out into areas and they come back and they look just like this. I mean, they're just absolutely eaten absolutely alive. So we'll go out with that. What do you see for the growth and development as far as Skintex MR3?
As this awareness grows, again, Zika has given us a tremendous amount of awareness. So we're hopeful we can cover blanket the earth with MR3.
That's fantastic. David Pearce, as we call the Senior Development Outreach Advisor for Skintex MR III Technologies, knock down mosquitoes, flies, ticks, and others. Pulcra Chemicals, Rock Hill, South Carolina. And thank you for being with us as we talk about this deadly disease that's spreading across the United States, the rest of the world, as we create the Emerald Planet.